I am Reed. I am 27, just an average dude. I've made tons of money mistakes in my 20s, and now I want to share everything I've learned to help you take control of your finances and your life. So this is the story of me going down to my last $34 in my bank account back in 2015, and this is a story that really sticks with me to this day. I got the idea from someone asking me if I ever hit a rock bottom moment, and yeah, I've had a couple, but this one is the one I keep coming back to. It is financial for sure. But I think no matter what kind of rock bottom you are dealing with, whether it is money, a breakup, a job loss, or just feeling completely lost, this video might help you find your way out. So let me take you back. I was 16 turning 17 at the time. And I know what you were thinking. Oh, you were just a kid. Having only $34 at 17 is not the same as being broke at 35 with a mortgage and kids. Trust me, I get that. I completely understand that. But here's the thing. Even though I was living under my dad's roof, everything else was on me. If I wanted food, if I wanted new clothes, if I wanted anything at all, I had to pay for it myself. My dad was very clear about that. He would cover the roof over my head and basic groceries that were around the house, which wasn't too much. But if I wanted anything beyond that, it was on me. So being down to $1.34 when you have zero income coming in, that is a real problem. That is not just pocket change being low, that is rock bottom. So let me explain how I got there. I was doing binary options trading. I don't even think that is legal in Canada anymore, which should tell you something, but I put in my last $200, which was the minimum deposit for the platform. And for those who don't know what binary options are, it is basically gambling disguised as trading. You are predicting whether a stock will go up or down in a very short amount of time. That is it. It is not investing, it is not analysis, it is just guessing and hoping. And even if you win, the payouts were sketchy at best. I was 16 years old thinking I was going to turn that $200 into thousands. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. I was also trying real estate wholesaling that summer. And this is where things got really tense with my dad. We were clashing heads constantly. He would tell me to get a real job, a normal job, something at a grocery store or a restaurant. And I kept telling him, no, trust me, I can make this work. You just need to trust me. But looking back, I didn't have a plan. I had ambition, sure. But ambition without a plan is just wishful thinking. I had no skills yet. I had no track record. I had no results. All I had was this burning desire to prove everyone wrong. And while that drive is important, it is not enough on its own. You need to actually put in the work and build the foundation first. Another dumb thing I tried was Twitch streaming. I actually got some initial traction, which was surprising, but I didn't make any money from it. And honestly, I got into it for the wrong reasons. I was doing it because I thought it would make me money fast, not because I was passionate about gaming or content creation. And when you do something just for the money without genuinely enjoying it, it shows people can tell. And you burn out fast, so that fizzled out pretty quickly. So what was my income during this time? Birthday money and Christmas money. That is it. That was my entire cash flow, a couple $100 twice a year. And I was trying to stretch that across months of expenses. It was never going to work. I was basically just surviving, waiting for the next holiday to roll around so I could have some cash again. Then in 2016, I got a small inheritance from my grandma. It was around $1,100. And that kept me going for a while. But again, it wasn't income, it was just a lifeline. I wasn't building anything sustainable. I was just delaying the inevitable. The real wake-up call didn't come until the end of 2017. That is when I finally realized that I had been trying so hard but getting nowhere because I was skipping steps. I wanted to be on step 10 when I hadn't even done steps 1 through 9 yet. I wanted to be the successful entrepreneur making deals and making money, but I hadn't built the skills, the network, or the experience to actually do that. I remember this one moment that still haunts me. I was so close to closing a wholesale real estate deal. It was a massive deal. Over $2 million, I had the contract, I had the buyer, everything was lined up. And then the seller found out I was 17 years old and he backed out. He didn't understand my role. He didn't trust a kid. And on top of that, he was French speaking and I didn't know French. So communication was already a struggle. I was so close I could taste it and it slipped away. That was brutal. But honestly, it was a lesson I needed to learn. I was trying to play in a league I wasn't ready for yet. And through all of this, I was lying to my friends about food. This is one of those memories that still makes me cringe. My buddies from high school and I would work out in the mornings a few times a week. And after the gym, we'd go grab lunch somewhere. McDonald's, Subway. Whatever. And they ask me what I was getting, and I say, oh, I am not hungry, and they look at me like, dude, we just worked out for an hour and a half. You are obviously hungry. What are you getting? And I just keep saying, no, trust me, I am fine. But I was starving. My stomach was growling. I had no money. I couldn't afford to buy food, so I just sit there watching them eat, pretending I was fine. Sometimes I oversleep from streaming too late and miss the bus to school, and then I just go to school with no food at all. I fast all day because I had no other choice. And I look back at that now and I think, man, that was real grit. But it was also unnecessary suffering. I was putting myself through all of that because I refused to get a normal job. I was so stubborn, I was so convinced that I had to make it as an entrepreneur or nothing. And that mindset, that all or nothing mentality, it almost broke me. There is nothing wrong with getting a part-time job to keep yourself afloat while you work on your bigger goals. In fact, that is probably the smarter move. But I was too proud to do that. So what changed? What was the mindset shift that actually got me out of that rut? It was T1 big thing. It was a series of small realizations that slowly added up over time. First, I realized that I needed to invest in myself first. I was always trying to put my money into stocks, into binary options, into real estate deals, but I never invested in my own skills. I never bought a course. I never got a mentor. I just tried to figure everything out on my own, which meant I made every mistake possible if I had taken some of that money and invested it in learning actual skills, sales, marketing, negotiation. I would have made so much more money so much earlier, but I was too stubborn and too cheap to do that. Second, I realized that success takes time. Nobody tells you that when you are 16 and hungry and desperate. They tell you to follow your dreams and never give up, but they don't tell you that it might take a decade. It took me 10 solid years to get to where I am now. And only the last couple of years have I really started making good money and seeing real progress. The first 7 or 8 years were mostly failure and struggle and lessons, but those years were not wasted. They were building the foundation. They were forcing me to develop skills I didn't know I needed. Third, I realized that trying everything is actually a good strategy, but only if you are learning from each attempt. I tried binary options, I tried streaming, I tried real estate wholesaling, I tried a bunch of other stuff I haven't even mentioned. Most of it failed, but each failure taught me something. Each failure eliminated one more path and pointed me closer to the right one. The key is to fail forward, fail, learn, adjust, and try again. Don't just fail and repeat the same mistake. Fourth, I realized that I needed to let go of my ego. My biggest problem was that I wanted to prove everyone wrong so badly that I couldn't see when I was wrong myself. I couldn't admit that I needed help. I couldn't admit that maybe my dad was right about getting a job. I couldn't admit that I was in over my head, and that ego kept me stuck for way longer than necessary. Once I let go of that need to prove myself, once I became willing to ask for help and take advice, things started to change. Fifth, I realized that consistency beats intensity every single time. I was always going for the big win, the home run, the massive deal. But I wasn't doing the small things consistently. I was showing up every day. I was waiting for the big moment instead of building momentum through small daily actions, and that is a trap so many people fall into. We want the overnight success. But the truth is, overnight success is almost always a lie. What looks like overnight success is usually years of behind-the-scenes work that nobody saw. So if you are in a similar position right now, if you are broke, if you are lost, if you are lying to your friends about being hungry because you can't afford food, here's what I want you to take away from this. First, invest in yourself before you invest in stocks or crypto or real estate. Invest in your own skills, learn how to communicate, learn how to solve problems. Those skills will pay you back for the rest of your life. Nothing else will. Second, be patient. This thing takes time. Nobody goes from broke to successful in a week or a month or even a year for most people. It took me a decade and I am still just getting started. So set realistic expectations and focus on the process, not the outcome. Third, try everything but learn from everything. Don't be afraid to fail. Failure is tuition. It is the cost of learning, but don't just fail and move on. Actually analyze what went wrong and adjust your approach. Fourth, let go of your ego. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. The people who matter will support you. The people who don't matter, their opinions don't count anyway. So stop trying to prove yourself and start trying to improve yourself. Fifth, be consistent. Show up every day, even when you don't feel like it. Even when you don't see results, even when you want to quit, just keep showing up. The compound effect of small daily actions is more powerful than any single big win. And finally, if you can, get a job while you work on your bigger goals. There is no shame in that. I refused to do it, and I made my life 10 times harder than it needed to be. A part-time job gives you income, stability, and the freedom to take risks on the side without going broke. I am not saying any of this to brag or to pretend like I've got it all figured out. I am still figuring it out every single day. But I've come a long way from that kid with $1.34 in his account, skipping meals and lying to his friends. And if I can do it, you can do it too. You just have to start, and you have to keep going, even when it feels pointless. Especially when it feels pointless. If you made it this far, I'd love to hear from you. Do you have a rock bottom story? Have you been in a similar situation? Drop it in the comments. I want to read them. I want to know I am not the only weirdo who went through this. And if you are in that spot right now, just know it gets better. It really does. But you gotta put in the work. Nobody is coming to save you. You gotta save yourself. Peace.